most Christians have no healthy understanding of the word ekklesia. And I don't want to go in there deeply. I just want to say that there are three concepts that need to be taught and retaught again so that today's people of God understands what Jesus actually meant when he said, I will build my ekklesia. Because it does not mean building a system with a senior pastor and a Bible school and a church house. No, it does not, no matter what you try to do. The first one is, of course, you know that the word ekklesia in the days of Jesus was referring to Greek democratic city-states, which basically had a democratic parliament, a city parliament, where all those above 20 years of age who were eligible to participate in the politics of the city were called ekklesia. And we find that reference, for example, in Acts chapter 19, where that word ekklesia has been used in that term. So it's a political, governmental structure that is actually about politics, about running life in a city, and not at all about some sort of a religious entity that is modeled after a Jewish synagogue, a Christian version of the Jewish synagogue, which actually what most of today's churches do like. I don't want to even go into this one right now. The second thing is that Jesus spoke about, you are the city on the hill. The Acropolis in Greece, Acropolis means the high city, the visible city, the city above the city. And Jesus likens the followers of Christ with those people who live above the hubbub of the classical world on a high-rise erected place. And he says to them, you are the light of the world, the city on the hill. Let the people see your deeds, so they shall praise your Father in heaven. So he spoke about a public exposure, a light that is not being kept under a bushel, but keeps lighting. And that is the idea of an ecclesia of God. And I will come back to that in a minute. But let me finish this little introduction with another meaning of ecclesia, which it had in the days of Jesus, which was the Roman imperial understanding of what ecclesia meant in the Roman days, where Greek was the Koine Greek spoken around the whole Mediterranean. More people spoke Greek than Latin at the time. Well, that changed, but at the time when Jesus lived, it was Greek, which was the lingua franca, the main language people talked in the Mediterranean area. And here it was, the Roman Empire, as you all know, they were an imperial power. They went and captured other areas and subdued them with their military force and made them their colonies, like Palestine. And what they did was, after they have subjected a new territory and put a Roman governor in place, which was a sort of a proxy of the Roman Caesar, a local person who is basically a governor representative of the Roman imperial power. They did something very important. And if you haven't heard this before, you need to really capture this. They decided not only to win over the population with the power of the sword and brutal force, they were smarter than that. They were actually a smart empire, smarter than Babylon, the Babylonian Empire, the Persian Empire, even the Greek Empire of Alexander the Great. They all came to conquer and murder and rape and pillage and destroy. After that, it was burnt earth. But the Romans were smarter. The Romans said, we need to win these people, not just by the power of the sword, but by the power of our superior way of life. Therefore, let us do this. Let us take a group of Roman citizens from all walks of life, like 300 families, quite typically, families from every walk of life, painters, builders, masons, from all walks of life, and we transplant them into the newly captured colony and plant them as a beachhead of the Roman Empire right in the middle of the captured culture. Like, create a model, a Roman model city inside the captured new area like Palestine or wherever they went. And they were smart enough to understand that in order to start a new kind of culture, you can't do this with 10 people. You can't do this with 3 people. You can't even do this with 50 people. You must have a certain breakthrough number which takes over a critical mass in order to establish a full-fledged holistic understanding of a new culture. And they decided it's about 300 families that you need to do that, 300. Because 300 is kind of a minimum number to start a city, so to speak. They can then model how Roman life functions in the middle of a captured culture, with their floor heating and their flush toilets and whatever the Romans had. Even anthropologists and cultural anthropologists, they will confirm the same thing to you if you look at it, that it takes a certain amount of people to start a culture. To start a culture, I said. Not just to start a new religious meeting. Hear me right. And that thing, that Roman beachhead in a new culture that models the city on the hill, Jesus would say, and models a beachhead of Roman culture in a new culture, guess how that was called? It was called ekklesia. So you see, these three things I just mentioned are very powerful images that Jesus used when he took the word ekklesia. It was a governmental group of people running the life of a city. Number two, it was actually the city itself. You are the city on the hill that is basically the model city of the kingdom citizens, so they live their lives in visibility distance of the other people who look at it and say, my God, these people, they live a life that is amazing. I can't do this. They must have a secret. What's their secret? And I'll get back to that. And thirdly and lastly, everybody in the days of Jesus knew the Roman Empire understanding of ekklesia, which was that beachhead I have just explained.